Rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Listen, Tony Braxton.
Lived a good job in the
City. Working for the man every night and day.
You're giving really hoarse and raspy.
Child, I'm still recovering from life. Okay, life. You said it earlier. Did you say that earlier?
March has hands.
March has motherfucking hands.
Okay, and been beating.
March, no, literally. I am tattered. You can hear it in my voice. My right knee is fucked up, is swollen. My right bunion is like screaming at me. And I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it's giving, I need a vacation.
Child, but even, my thing with vacation is like, I be feeling like, I don't know. I feel like I read somewhere that parents, if you weren't raised in a household where vacation was prioritized, you are conditioned to think that you always have to be going. And we did not go on vacation like that for real. Like we went to like Disney World here and there and we did like little things, but like intentionally saying, we are going to take a break from life because we work hard and spend 7 days in Turks and Caicos. I was not raised like that. So in turn, I do not prioritize vacation. And like, I feel like if I go, I'm like doing myself a disservice and I'm missing out on something and I'm like losing out on an opportunity. I don't know. I don't know why that is. And my husband is the same way.
Really?
That motherfucker, it's so hard to pull him away from work to go on vacation. We've not been on a honeymoon because we've not been on a honeymoon. Still, we about to be married for 4 years in August.
It's done now, unless you just like.
Oh, we going, bitch. And we're getting just married shirts, and I want to be treated like a new bride.
And they're
okay.
Judge. They're going to judge.
I don't care. We just got married.
Y'all went to St. Thomas
I
last
want
summer.
the
Why
just married sweets. I want the just married flower petals on the bed, bitch. I want it all. I want it all. I want it all.
You literally were just in St. Thomas, weren't you? Like
that was with my parents. My parents have a house there. We were just there with them. That's not my honeymoon. That's a vacation with my parents.
Nah,
that don't count.
I will say this, like, you know, we've had the discussion of me having an older mom and like, because my mom was so much older and like she lived her best life, like she made sure I got to travel. So as a kid, I got to go like a lot of places, and she used to take my cousin with me. Yeah. So like those are very like fond memories of my mom.
You know what? I just thought about my dad and my stepmom prioritized vacation, and I did travel with them a lot, but I wasn't raised by them.
Right. So
my mom raised me. So I think most of my life I think about in terms of like how it was in the house I was raised in.
Right.
But I did travel a lot. Like I was 8 years old getting on a plane to go to wherever to meet my dad. Go to Hawaii.
Yeah, but it's different for vacation versus
yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's interesting because I never thought about it in that way. But yeah, like when I was younger, my mom definitely, because she wanted me to like see.
Experience.
Yeah, she wanted me to see
life.
stuff. And like I loved it. Like, you know, as a kid, it was fun to me. So yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about it. Wow, giving Laura props today. Hopefully that keeps the energy with today's topic because we're actually talking about life.
Yes.
And we are talking about you know, I saw a clip from Kelly Rowland, and she actually had her dad with her.
Yes.
And they were estranged at one point.
Right.
And so she talks about after 30 years finally reconnecting with her dad.
That's crazy.
And he was there in the interview, but Hoda asked about, like, you know, what does this mean after this long for your dad to come back in your life? And I thought that what she said was so special, and I related to it a lot more than I'd like to admit. So let's listen to what she had to say.
Okay.
Hold up. It was necessary. It was necessary to the little girl in me that needed to hear that. It was necessary to hear it from a man. It was necessary to hear it from my father. And when I thought about all the tumultuous relationships and trying to figure out men, like that is the base and the foundation of it psychologically. So when I'm talking to therapists and I'm asking them about this, and it all runs back to the abandonment issue. And people like make jokes of that sometimes. It's like, oh, well, she has abandonment. No, I actually had an abandonment issue.
You really did.
And it's some seriousness to that. And it's once you like kind of tackle your way through that, you're helping to navigate your way through trying to have functional as possible
relationships. Yeah. And I mean, I thought this would be a good episode to talk about like inner child healing, because as I get older, I find that it is so difficult to soothe your inner child. It is so difficult to literally, like, you don't even think about how pivotal, like when Kelly talked about like how many relationships were failed because I didn't realize like I really needed a dad. Like I really needed those things, and it made me think about like my own therapy journey. So one of the things that I've had to work on really hard over the last years, one, I just really discovered that I had an abandonment issue. And it's interesting because I never considered myself to be a person with abandonment issues, because I think that we all assume that abandonment looks a certain way, right? So, you know, my dad, me and him kind of got a relationship when I turned 18. So I know, I feel like a very weird like shift as far as like the core essence of who I am as a girl who was raised without a father, right? But now, as I've turned 18, my dad supports me a lot financially. And so over time, it's been a weird shift, because I know what it's like for your daddy to give you everything, but I know what it's like for your dad to never be there either. And so I was in therapy and I was kind of struggling, because again, even with that dynamic of my dad not being there and then being there, it's a lot of rift between us. And I was like in therapy and I was just, really upset. And, she was like, well, yeah, I mean, you're an abandoned child. And I mean, like, have you ever been a therapist where your therapist tells you something and you're in fucking
clutch
shock?
your pearls? It's like, wait, what? Yes.
That was me as far as abandonment issues were concerned, because then we started to talk about my mom, who, obviously decided to raise me in spite of my dad not being there. But then I realized that we think that abandonment looks like physical leaving. And my mother was definitely emotionally abandoning me as well. And so I was experiencing it twofold and not realizing how that played out so much in my dating space. Like when someone does not text me back in a reasonable amount of time, I panic. Because then you start to blame yourself. And that's also a telltale sign of like abandonment.
Oh my God, yes.
Am I reading you? Like,
you're a little bit,
Am I in your driveway?
Yeah, I am so quick to think that I have offended someone or done something wrong or even just if there's like an energy shift.
Oh, yes.
If somebody's looking at me weird, like, why are they looking at me like that?
And your mind runs
10,000 immediately. I feel like I've done something. And my mom doesn't listen to this podcast, because if she did, my mother is very big on like, don't talk about me. Like, shut the fuck up. But my mom was very physically present, and my dad was in my life, and I had a stepdad who was also in my life. But I definitely emotionally now realize that I may not have gotten what I needed all the time. And I say this as someone who, as I prepare to become a parent, God willing, and I have observed over my life how difficult being a parent is, and I can go back in hindsight and see that my mom did a lot to make sure that her children were good,
had the best,
that we were taken care of, that we wanted for nothing. So she worked a lot. She was building her business when we were in middle and high school, when I was in middle and high school. And like, I remember when I went to junior prom, I came downstairs and was like, Mom, I'm leaving. And she was in her bedroom. She was like, okay, see you later. I didn't get like the pictures. I didn't get like the,
let me get your
hair. So pretty. Turn this way. And that still sticks with me to this day. Like, and because I would see like all the white girls in my neighborhood are in the front yard of, of our
The
nice
neighborhood, taking pictures with their families.
Yep, and the friends, and the date is there, and he's putting the boutonniere on, and we didn't do that, and like those are little things, but like
They
little
add
emotional
up, and it also leaves a mark, right?
Yeah,
right, like. Especially the comparison piece, right? Because I have a scenario kind of similar. I played soccer child, so obviously I was the only black girl.
I did too.
Playing soccer at that time, but we won state, which is the highest honor of winning the game, right?
Yes.
And I'm an emotional person, so of course it happened to fall on Mother's Day. So even before the game started, we all gave our mom roses, like from both teams. It was a whole thing, right? So when we won, all of the white moms jumped up, ran and greeted their daughters, right? And I like ran to jump on my mom. She was like, calm down. I remember instantly how robbed of that emotion I felt, like watching like my white teammates and their moms, like it was a moment, like it was almost like out of a movie. So like imagine a movie where it's like everyone's screaming and it's chaos, like we're literally winning the top honor and stuff, like we're the champions of the whole fucking state. Like how do we, like, I'm over the moon, like this is my first time winning state, like I'm so excited, and I run up to my mother and she is like, don't jump on me. It's not giving that, sis.
Yes.
It's not. And I remember like stopping.
Yes.
And turning and being like in my head, how do I recoup? Like, do I run to someone else? Do I sit here? Does everyone celebrate around me? But again, those moments of like showing up for me emotionally were just never present. And so then it turns into a person always questioning, is it you? Because as a child, you have no one to tell you it's not you. So you internalize it. You assume that everything is about you. My dad couldn't have shown up and wanted to be a father because of me, right? It's something that I did. Right. Because as a child, you don't deem, it has to be something. Maybe it's this. You don't think like, oh, maybe it's my parents' dynamic. Maybe you didn't want to be a parent. Maybe, and again, therapy has taught me enough to know that, to your point, our parents have tried. Yes, they tried to do the best they could with what they had. They're human beings, and they come from trauma, and they come from parents who are like direct derivatives, even worse, slaves. Yes, like for example, another thing that I learned in therapy is like I have a perfection complex. So like when it comes to doing anything, I like to perform at a high level. I like to for my stuff to be a certain way. I'm very particular. Like, and when I was younger, my mom never acknowledged anything that I did, right? So my whole life, it was like, ta-da, I'm the best. See me. Look, hey, look, I'm the best singer. Look, I'm the best soccer player. Oh, I'm on the state winning team. I'm the best. And it got to a point where then, because I realized at a certain point she just was not going to acknowledge me, I figured if I got so good that if everyone around saw it, so if Candiace started going, Lord, did you see Leah? It would be a moment for her to not, and it never was. But then it created a perfection complex overall, right? Because now I'm living in this space where I feel like I have to be the best in order. Like now I'm fighting for acknowledgement that I'm not going to get, but it perpetuates in every space of my life, right? So even to people think like, oh, Leah's just trying to be, it gives off this air of me trying to be a perfectionist, when in reality, it's truly just the little girl inside of me who wants my mom to say good job.
Yep. Child. Whoo!
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. So how is that reconciled? Because I find myself feeling like that as well. Like sometimes I'm like, why am I doing 50 things? Why am I adding one more thing to my plate? And I had a similar upbringing where I remember there was one particular time when I was in high school. I took honors English in my senior year, and we had summer work. We had to read, what's the book with Hester Prynne and the Scarlet Letter?
Oh, yeah.
We had to read the Scarlet Letter and do like this packet of summer work before we got to school. And I got an A on it, and it was really hard. And I remember showing it to my mom and her being like, oh my God, Candiace, I'm so proud of you. And that sticks with, even in that moment, I remember being shocked.
Like,
wait, what? Because she seldom, if ever, said that she was proud of me. It was like almost never.
Never occurrence. You could always be better.
Yes.
You could always be better.
And because of that, I never feel like I'm doing a good job at anything. Ever. Like, I mean, I could possibly be the best at something I've done. I will always find a critique. Mm-hmm. And like even now with my singing and my career in music, my team, we had a meeting the other day. My team is like, you need to stop and just appreciate what you've done. You like, and they broke down like, do you know what you've done? Do you know what stage you were on and who you shared the stage with? And all of the praise that you receive from these people who didn't have to say shit to you. They could have just gone about their business. Right. Maya didn't have to say anything. Right. As, like, no one had to say anything to you. Right. And even that, I'm just like, yeah, okay, well, what's next? Like, what can I do better? How can we What's the next thing that I can do really well? Yeah.
And that's the hard part, because it's just like that inner child screaming. Because I had a similar situation. Like when I graduated from Howard, so like my whole life when I would talk about boys to my mom, she would be like, you don't need a boyfriend, wait till you graduate college. And so when I graduated college, I said, okay, all these years you told me like, once I graduate college, I can get a boyfriend. So now what? And then she was like, now get so rich that you can buy a man. And I was like, what, girl? so you know, and then as we're this, and I was just like, so are you proud of me? Like almost baiting her. Yeah. And she was like, I mean, like it was hard for her to say it. Yeah. And I said, you could just say, you could really just say in this moment that I've done enough. Yeah. Like it was almost like if I didn't bait her, we wouldn't have even like had the conversation. Yep. And I think also Black parents, if you're listening, if you have children, one thing that I hope for Black people to stop doing, because I think this is a common thread in the Black community, which I've learned the source of it, which obviously that has to do with slavery. Yes. But one thing that Black parents do is like Black parents will love to talk to everybody else about the child.
That's my mom.
You're not affirming me when you tell Dorsey and you never told me. There. I didn't even know. I didn't even know you felt that way. Yes. I didn't know you were proud.
And then you've getting those people come up to you and say, your mother is so proud of you.
Cool, bitch. I could have fooled me.
Yeah. The fuck? Like what? And it almost feels performative. And like you're saying this because you want other people to see your familial unit as better than, is doing better than, like keeping up with the Joneses, that situation. And like I've never felt like even now, because now TV is a really is a mind fuck. And when you see yourself on TV, it can cause you to edit. And I for sure feel like my mom edits because she has seen herself on TV. Right. So now she'll say on TV, oh, Candiace, I'm so proud of you. And it feels alien. And it feels like you're saying this because we're in a setting where millions of people will see.
Consume and have a conversation about it, right?
Yes. But like in general, no, I also don't feel like I've ever truly been affirmed by my mom. Right. And because that's who raised me. Right. And, you know, that's who I know as the dominant parent. It's I seek that.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing. So last year when I kind of learned about these abandonment issues, because again, you really don't realize how it spills into everything that you do. Even how you react in like non-romantic but platonic relationships. You don't even realize like the expectations sometimes that you have of people and like the way that you maneuver situations. Yep. You know, this therapist was like, listen, you have abandonment issues, so you have expectations of people. So she was like, listen, your parents played the fuck out of you, right? So when you go into any other situation, you have such a high expectation for people because you don't want to be disappointed. Yes. And disappointing you is where you feel the most vulnerable. Yes. Giving people the opportunity to disappoint you.
Yes.
And it plays out in every caveat. Like, I will not let people oversell me on shit. Nope. My bar is down here. Always. But, hold on. But recently, I got read to fucking filth about that. Because for real, it's self-sabotage.
Yes, it is.
It is self-sabotage. And I didn't realize it because my therapist was like, yo, you having such a low expectation. Do you know how much you rob yourself of joy by doing that? And I had no idea, but it almost, honestly, when she told me that, I had called one of my friends and I got emotional because I was like, how much have I cheated myself out of
your own blessings?
Because I was so set upon not being disappointed. Yes. I looked at every opportunity or every time for someone to show up for me. Yep. as a moment of loss immediately.
Yep.
Because in my mind, well, if I set the bar down here, if they supersede it,
yes,
great.
then that's right.
But if they disappoint me, well, that was
I'm
my
not
expectation.
Hurt. Yep.
And it's truly a form of self-sabotage. And like my friends sometimes would be like, why are you so negative, girl? Just like experience it.
Yeah.
And I would be like, no, but what about this?
Yeah.
And what if this? Child. And how about this? And what it
that is my black ass. Yeah. You know what? So what I have, again, like going back to what I said, I think that we as the children of these people forget that they are human beings. And that's where I have been sitting with it for maybe the last 5 or 6 years. I like had a realization that my mom is my mom, and she's on this pedestal because she's my mother. And I have such a high expectation, an expectation of her and my dad, my parents,
your parents
as a whole, because they raised me.
Right.
And they are the first people that I knew, and they were my first example. They were the first blueprint
of everything.
So I have this like almost unrealistic expectation of who they are and what they are capable of.
Right.
And it's almost unfair, because how are we to not understand that perhaps the reason that my mom is shitty at being emotionally available is because no one was giving her that. No one was emotionally available to her. No one affirmed her. And we are products of our environments.
Absolutely.
So at that point, I have to say to myself, it's my job and it's my responsibility to, now that I understand that, mom is human and mom is only available to me for as much as she can be available to herself. And I have to figure out how to soothe my inner child and not blame that what was missing and what clearly hurt me and has traumatized me on her, because she is not capable of being what I need in certain arenas.
And that is to answer your earlier question, which was, so then how do we do that? That is the hard work of yourself.
Absolutely.
Because I tell you this, as far as my mom and like the perfection complex, that was one of the first things I learned about myself in therapy. Like that performative nature comes from that, wanting that approval. And, I had a conversation with my mom and we were talking about therapy, and my mom is 65, child. What she believes is what she believes.
Yes,
and it ain't a lot of budget from that.
And it ain't changing.
And it won't.
Yeah.
So, therapy sounds like a foreign language to her, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm telling her about therapy, and I said, well, the reason I feel the need to perform in that manner or present myself as perfect is because you didn't affirm me.
Ooh,
and
girl.
She literally said, do you think that I got that? Do you think that your grandparents did that to me? And that was the first moment where I realized that I was able to, for real, of all the fucked up shit my mom has done, that was the first time I was able to see her.
Yeah. Oh, God.
To see her. She said, do you think that your grandpa told me I did good? And it was like her inner child jumped out. And I was like, this is a negative, toxic cycle.
Yeah.
Of parents not affirming.
Yeah.
And not, I had a conversation with my dad where one time I was expressing to him how hurt I was that he was not in my life. He literally said, and this is something that honestly we still struggle with, and I honestly still hold very heavily to me, but we were in a moment, we were, we had a disagreement. It was him, my sister and I, and we were in his car, and we just went on this family trip, child, that he wanted to be white picket fence perfect, and it was chaotic because our foundation is chaotic.
It's shaky, yeah.
And so I remember saying to him, and I'm bawling, and I'm like, do you know what it's like to not have a dad growing up? And I said, it hurts me so much. And he was like, well, I grew up without a dad, and I'm just fine.
Child, ooh, these people are they are just like brick walls.
It cuts to the bone. It cut to the bone. But I was like, okay, so me expecting this acknowledgement is the space where I think to this day I'm at a standstill with my dad. You know what I mean? Because on one hand, I'm an adult enough to understand that they're probably not going to change their ways, right? But I still don't think that I'm 100% soothed as a child. And they are my instant triggers. There are things that people can do that obviously, scratches the surface of the trigger. But my parents say one thing, and it puts me in a hole.
I can, like, you people out there think that you've seen me, like, emotional. The way that my mother can turn me into
somebody else,
a wildebeest, by saying one
thing.
It's like, and my sister and my brother are the same way.
Yeah.
It's like you say, like she'll say, my mom used to be really obsessed with our skin because I had acne growing up. My sister has acne, and she was like obsessed with it. And she would come in and say like, you need to get your skin together. Like, we need to get your skin. And it was like, I understand now that part of it was that she didn't want to see this imperfection on my face because I'm a reflection of her, and she doesn't want me looking a mess in public.
Right.
But part of it was that she just was panicked and wanted to fix it because she would send me to the best dermatologists and buy me the most expensive creams and potions and lotions for my skin when it was just adolescent acne and it was going to pass. And it did.
Right.
My sister is a little bit more complicated, and she had to, do different regimens, but it's like, it shouldn't be the end of the world. It shouldn't be a national emergency. And like, now when she says anything about my skin
trigger
or my sister's skin, not even mine, it's like,
stop,
don't talk, like, shut up, like,
stop.
And I turn into like a monster.
No, my mom will get me. So first of all, I've realized like I'm very animated. I'm very colorful.
Yes.
And I live my emotions out loud. I express myself. Like, my mom
is the opposite.
Like cold.
Yep.
Like, not even like, your mom is a little more like personable. No, my mom is very like black and white with it. Like, she's not giving all of that. And my mom, like, she will not call when I have anxiety, because I'm a very anxious person.
Bitch.
She goes, you're a little intense. And I'm like, I'm anxious.
It minimizes
the fuck out of what I'm saying. Like, I was never able to really express how I felt in that emotion. Like, I play a soccer game and a girl would call me a ugly bitch, and my mom would go, well, girl, they talked about Jesus Christ, you'll be fine. But it's like, no, you're my mom, I want to talk shit with you. Like, I want to engage and have a conversation with you. And so, it's a real, like, my mother can trigger me in, she don't even have to say, it could be a look or a comment or just oh my God. And I'm ready to pull my edges out. Like, I'd be like, okay, it's time for me to pack my shit up and go back to my house.
Yep,
because Texas is too much. Texas is too much. Like, it does not matter. But, when I first started therapy, one of the things that really got me emotional was like, my mom is a very private person. And so you really don't know, like, I don't know a lot about my mother as far as like, what is her, like, I really don't even know my mom's favorite color, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't know a lot about her. And for me, like, I got to a crossroads in my life where I was like, okay, Leah, if your mom, God forbid, dies tomorrow, are you satisfied with where you are? Or what you haven't said?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Like, did you express it enough? Did you? And I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not.
Well, okay. So here's what I have learned. And you kind of said this. These people are, again, products of their environment.
Yeah, for sure.
You can say how you feel to them until you're blue in the face, but you have to be intentional about why you're saying it. If you're saying it to them because you want validation, you're setting yourself up to be sabotaged and to fail. Because at this point, they're not going to change. She's not going to give it to you.
Right.
So if whatever it is that you feel like you haven't said and you need to say is so that she will know, then say it. But if you're saying it because you're thinking that it's going to
change something,
don't waste your time.
Yeah. It's just like, and I think like too, especially because I'm 28, like as I'm getting closer to 30, I think in my mind,
your spirit is like 50, but okay.
Yeah, but I when I was a child, I think I thought for a really long time that like once I got older and I was able to like
Ooh.
be an adult and verbalize that I would be heard more or it would be but
oh, young dove.
yeah, no, well, I mean, this was a child. As obviously as I got older and I realized like it was different, but I really thought that like I would find a middle ground with my mom, and I just haven't. And like again, you're married, you're in a space with your husband, like you talk about wanting children, and I don't know, like with where my mom and I sit, I'm just not sure about like our future. I don't know what it looks like for me to have kids and my mom to be in the picture. Not that she won't, but I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know how I manage where we are with like what my future looks like, you know, and that's, and the same thing with my dad. Like we have totally different perspectives. And see, your brother and your sister, y'all grew up in the same house. My sister and I grew up totally different. And, I mean, I'm kind of divulging too much, but like my sister and I right now are kind of in a weird space because we realized, we did a therapy session and we realized we got two different dads. You know what I mean? Like she got my dad in a different capacity than I did. And so it's a lot harder for me to move on. It's a lot harder for me to jump over the hurdles that they both want me to jump over to meet them where they are, because she's had conversations. She feels like she's got her answers and she's okay with that and she can build on that.
Right.
But the answers aren't good enough for me. And not to say that, you know, the answer is going to be what I want it to be. Yeah. But for me, I need acknowledgement, and there's none of that. And so
you have got to get to a place where you are at peace with yourself. There's a lot of looking outside for acknowledgement from your parents. And it's human because they're your fucking parents.
Right.
If anybody, these are the people that fed you, clothed you, protected you, kept you alive.
Yeah.
So it's natural for you to want to feel that comfort from those people.
Yeah.
But again, these niggas are human beings and they are liable to be just as shitty as Bob on the street.
Yeah.
And you've got to be okay with where you are. You have to somehow build the peace for yourself, because waiting to get it from your 65-year-old mother, and that's not to say that it may not come, because people change all the time, every day.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not saying you should be closed off, but don't allow the lack of acknowledgement from mom or dad to decide whether or not you are able to free yourself from those burdens and live your life for yourself. And you know what is crazy? I was only able to really let go of that acknowledgement from my mom when I got married.
What about marriage?
Because I found my own person. My mom was like, I'm going to cry. My mom was like my person.
Yeah.
And I was able to let go of that because we were never going to be where I wanted us to be.
Yeah.
You know, I need a tissue.
Yeah.
To fold up. And I was able.
Is this you preserving?
Yes. You gotta watch the YouTube to see what I'm doing. This is one of many skills that professional criers have. You can also go this way, and they'll just fall out.
Okay, go ahead.
Shout out to our team. They're trying to find me tissue. No, I think that it was finding a person that could love me. I keep hitting the mic. That could love me the way that I wanted and needed to be loved. That helped me to be okay with the fact that my mom could not be that for me. And it's maybe not even healthy, because it's almost just like a transfer. But thank you. I'm getting tissue.
The tissues are coming.
God bless. Oh, thanks. That was the tissue, guys. I'm folding the tissue.
In her Candiace way. Yes, get it.
And I hate that was my way, because I don't want you to feel like you have to find Mr. Anonymous
Right.
before you can let go. Yeah, we got it. Thank you.
Everyone's coming with the tissues.
Tissues,
Okay, we're ready. Okay.
Yes. No, I don't want you to feel like you need to find Mr. Man to feel like you have to soothe yourself.
Right.
But it was easier for me to accept what I always knew, which is that my mom is not going to change. And I cannot change her. I can scream and cry until I'm blue in the face. I can tell her how I feel until the cows come home.
Yeah.
And she may understand it within herself.
Yeah.
She's not going to show me that.
Right.
And I got to be okay with that and move the fuck on.
So I think for me, one of the struggles for me in this particular thing is it really pours out into my dating space, right?
Yeah.
So like, again, communication, and I'm talking to my therapist about this now. This is a child, me telling y'all all my issues. I hope the dude I'm talking to ain't listening. Or that I kind of like. But, like for me, I have this thing where I have this unrealistic expectation of communication up front. Because when you give me any sign of like not communicating or i.e. abandonment, any sign you're going to walk away, I panic.
Yep.
I panic. I lose it. I get this anxiety.
Yep.
I have this feeling. I can't even describe it. And I remember when I was younger, I used to be a bugaboo. I would call a dude all day. Like, I promise you, ask my cousin Melanie be listening to the podcast. Shout out to Melanie.
Hey, Melanie.
Because Melanie will tell you, when I was like middle school, high school, I'm calling your phone every day, baby. Leah. I'm calling your house. Hey, Mrs. So-and-so.
Leah.
Shout out to Michael Pickett. He used to be my church crush. Michael, I used to be like, hey, Miss Pickett. She'd be like, hey, Leah.
Listen, I hope Michael Pickett's wife ain't listening.
He doesn't have one. And as for that, hey, Mike. No, I'm playing. Just kidding, kind of. All right, Mike. Shot. No, he don't want me. Anyway, I already tried. No, I'm kidding. Actually, no, I'm actually not. Okay.
Leah is a fucking if you all didn't know Leah was a fucking lunatic, please understand.
But yes, no, but that was, I don't know, like in these, and it's only in romantic relationships, and I think there's things, again, that bleed out into my platonic everyday things, but like, for example, your ass don't be responding to my text.
I'm the worst.
And it'll irritate me, but it won't make me feel the same anxiety I feel when a man who is supposed to be interested in me doesn't respond.
Yeah.
Like I've chunked it to two things, right? Like the right man will be okay with that type of communication, but also there's work that I have to do, right, as well. Like there's a balance. And so I'm finding that fine line, but it's very hard for me because I think in romantic relationships I get too attached. Like I get attached to it
immediately.
Quickly. Yes. And it's like, so kind of in that same way, maybe you weren't doing that necessarily, but once you did find your person, you found that connection. Whereas like maybe I want that, so I'm like jumping to whatever that is. And so, obviously that doesn't pan out very well for me because most men are like, bitch, what the fuck is wrong with you? They are.
I'm sorry.
So, you
are.
They are. That part. But, that's one of the things I'm having to learn just like with these abandonment issues. Because again, a year and a half ago, if you'd have told me I had abandonment issues, I'd have been like, who?
Yeah.
Because even though my dad didn't raise me or wasn't really around much, I knew who he was. Yeah. And I didn't think that I was abandoned until my therapist was like, because she was like, you have abandonment issues. And I was like, who, me? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, how so? Yeah. She was like, Leah, tell me right now, do you think that your mother ever emotionally supported you the way that you needed? And I was like, I guess that's what we call that.
Yeah. But again, like, you've got to get to a place where, and it doesn't mean it won't still hurt or won't still like sting, but you have to, and it's hard for us because we're not math people, but you have to look at it as a quantitative thing. Like 2 + 2 is 2.
Right.
I mean, see, I don't know math. 2 + 2 is 4.
I thought you were trying to make a point, bitch.
2 + 2 is 4. Yeah, but like you have to look at it in black and white.
Yeah.
They didn't get it, so how can they give it to you? And it's not. And at this point in their lives, it's like impossible to change. And I used to say, well, they need to be responsible and see that they're wrong and they should want to change. But they don't. They don't see that.
And that's the, I think, like, again, when I turned 27, I was at a real pivotal moment with my career, trying to figure out what the fuck I was doing. I had a lot of shit going on at work. And I had a lot of stuff going on with both of my parents. And I just remember telling the therapist, like, I think, like, my inner child was having a tantrum. Because it was like, I want to be healed of this. I don't want to sit in this space anymore. I'm tired of feeling abandoned. I'm tired of it showing in my dating space.
Yes.
I'm tired. Like, I'm frustrated, and like my inner child was really having a tantrum. Because I thought, like, in my mind, again, the childhood mentality of the older I'll get, the more I'll be able to tell my parents how I feel. We'll have a conversation and we will be able to like move forward. And I think like 30 is like this bridge for me. I don't know why in my mind there's so many things that I have like that I want to do before 30, right? Which is like, before I go into my 30s, I would love to be healed. I would love to be more healed with my parents. I would love for us to be on a journey of like moving in a better direction, or having a middle ground at least. But we don't have a middle ground. It's their ground, and then I'm just dragged into on their trail. So I think that's the thing for me, and I think like, again, I'm working so hard to soothe myself. I'm working so hard to like have peace about it. Like, honestly speaking, until last November, my dad and I didn't talk for a year. Because my therapist had told me, you know, you have to figure out what boundaries look like for you, right? Ooh, you have to figure out. And she was like, if you truly believe that you will never be untriggered by them, then maybe just not speaking to them at all might be more peace for you than continuing to have a relationship where you constantly feel on edge.
Let me tell you something. My sister is like the master of cutting off my mom. I could never cut her off. She would do and say like crazy shit. Ooh, I hope she listens to this podcast. She gonna kick my ass. And I would just, whatever, cry, be angry, take it out on my husband. Right. The first time that I like block was so liberating, light, peaceful. You have to prioritize your peace and your mental health. And if that means that you take a break, and because my aunt said this to me, it doesn't mean you don't love your parents or that you're not loyal to them. You're loving them from a distance. And that is allowed because you are an adult. You take care of yourself. You are successful. You are ambitious. You have a million trillion things going for you that you need to be available emotionally to focus on. You shouldn't be falling apart because another human being is unavailable to you emotionally.
Right.
Like, that makes you just as bad off as they are. Yeah. If they want to be in a black space with walls up, that's their business. And even if it is your parents, they're humans. That's what it is for you. I feel like part of you is still elevates your parents to this pedestal space, which is understandable. Take them off. Take them off. And still love them, still respect them, still laud them as my mom used to throw that honor your mother and your father at me. And it's true. You should.
All the days of your life.
You can honor, and your days will be long. But don't provoke your children either. That's in the Bible too. Okay. So you can still honor them and love them without holding them on this pedestal, because you're hostage by keeping them up there. Take them off so that you can see them as humans and cease these unrealistic expectations of these people that ain't about to deliver for you. They're not going to. Become okay with that. That's your goal for 30. That's your healing in 30, is removing them from the pedestal so that you can move on, move forward. And I believe that will open up other spiritual and emotional doors for you. Because I think that a lot of the blocks and a lot of the doubt that you have is tied to you holding yourself hostage and being prisoner to these fucking people that ain't about to give you what you're looking for, because they can't. They just can't.
I would like to now open the doors of the church. I would now like to open the doors.
Let me tell you about how, listen, I don't know. Child, I ain't know 30, your 30s will give you wisdom, because I thought like I would fight to have a relationship with my mom. I knew I was going to have it. And my dad and my stepdad would tell me, that's just not how it's gonna be. And I would say, no. One day we're gonna be it's gonna get better.
Can we talk about though how religion plays a role into that? Because I will be 100% honest with you. I struggle, right? Because we believe, and I told my therapist this at the time when I was really struggling with this. As Christians, right, we believe that God can change anything around.
Oh
right?
my God,
He can.
I used to pray it. I used to
pray it down.
Give me
God,
a better relationship
please.
with my mom.
God,
Every
please.
night.
God,
Night.
please. After, Lord, heal us. Heal us. Lord, take it away. Lord, I don't want to feel like this anymore.
You talking to me,
Lord? Like,
preach to the choir.
And so I battle with the spirituality of it, but the reality of it. There's spirituality and then the real reality of what we're sitting in, right?
Yes.
And like, what is the middle line for me? Because, on one hand, I want to believe wholeheartedly that God can fix it at any moment, anytime, any situation that they could come around. Yep. But also, while I wait, I'm sabotaging my feelings and my heart, holding out that small ounce of hope. And my therapist had to say, you can still believe in that while not
allowing it to hold you hostage. Right. I still have hope that, and I feel like there have been life events that have created a space where I do feel like I am getting to a different place with my mom and my dad.
Right.
And it feels nice, but it does not make or break me anymore. It's just nice.
Me and my dad had an argument 2 weeks ago, and I was in shambles. Couldn't even pick myself back up. I'm definitely still a little bound. I ain't gonna hold you.
You are owed freedom from that.
Yeah,
and you have to give it to yourself.
Yeah.
I wish I could play it for you. I literally co-wrote a song that we're probably going to end up calling
Don't tell us.
Affirmations.
Okay.
That might be the name.
Okay. Exclusivity. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when we were first writing it, the words said, oh God, no matter what they may say, I'm going to be right here. I'm going to love you all the way. And it was a love song about a love interest. And I was like, this feels like a love letter to me. And it became, no matter what people say, I'm going to be right here. I'm going to love me all the way. And I would be we were in the studio recording the song, and then I would, you go home and listen to it and play it over and over and pick it apart. And I would mistakenly say you instead of me, because I'm conditioned to love others first. Yesterday, I was standing in the mirror, and I said repeatedly, I'm going to love me. I'm going to love me. Because we don't automatically put our self-love first. Yeah. But when you really do the work, because it's work, of putting yourself first and loving yourself first, it's so much easier to put that shit aside, even when it is your freaking parents. Yeah. You have to do the work of, and me too, of loving you first, putting you first. Look in the mirror. I'm going to love me. I'm pumping my song, but I'm telling the truth. Yeah. I'm going to love me all the way. Yeah. Me. Not you, but me. And it's not easy. It doesn't get easier. The feeling of wanting that whole complete thing from your parents never goes away. You know what else? Shout out to Michael Arsenault. His first book, I Can't Date Jesus. Read it. You need to read it. It's such a good book. And my best friend Adrian gave it to me because he's a Howard grad. He was School of C. Okay. A lot of parallels that you will find. Okay. And the relationship that he had with his mother spoke to me. And I ended up reaching out to him because I was so moved by what he was saying. Really? About his, and he's from Texas. You need to read the book. He's in LA now. And he's so fucking funny. You all are very similar. It's weird. He's funny. He uses humor to cover paint, like very similar. Wow. Okay. And I reached out to him. I DM'd him like, this nigga ain't gonna see this. And now like we're cool, cause like that book, it's just it began for me the journey of understanding how these niggas ain't changing. Niggas being parents.
Maybe we need to have them on.
Michael, will you come on our podcast?
Michael, if you're listening,
Michael,
will you come on?
He would come on.
Okay. So yes, you know what? All right, we'll continue this conversation because we're not gonna be here.
We talking forever. It's
right,
time to go.
Right. I know you got shit to do on a Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, but listen, make sure you download, subscribe. Okay, and use the hashtag STWWD. Tell us what you are learning. What are your therapy notes? What have you learned? Any advice? Okay, because clearly. We up here still trying to figure it out, and we're a family, and we want to know what you guys are going through and what you are working on in therapy.
Yep.
Make sure you download, you listen, subscribe, catch us on YouTube, because if you want to see Candiace,
you got to see my skill, my special crying skill.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. Okay, so yeah, make sure you go check it out on YouTube. And listen, guys, we are up out of here. Make sure you follow us on social media too. So that's what we're doing. Pod.
Period.
And yeah, girl.
And do the work. Love you all the way, bitch. Love yourself.